Second meeting of the regular season between the New York Red Bulls and Orlando City SC. Evan Weston, our good buddy, is the radio voice of the Lions. Evan, interesting season so far for Orlando. I remember talking to you, March 30th, and it was in the middle of Champions League and still trying to round in the form. Champions League's done, obviously. The still rounding into form part maybe is what Orlando at this point is almost in a way about halfway through the year, scratching their head a little bit, right?
Yeah, I called it the Twilight Zone season on Twitter the other day. Everything that happens seems to have some ironic bite to it, or there's some twist that you don't expect, one way or the other. They're about 500 since the last time we saw each other. They've had really good moments. They've had moments that make you wonder what is going on here. One of those was probably Wednesday night, a game that encapsulated a lot of this year for me. They take advantage of some calamitous defending by Chicago to get an early lead. The game kind of devolved a little bit from there, but there was a stonewall penalty for them that should have made it 2-0 before halftime. The referee bafflingly didn't give it. Very young referee, first season in the league, just kind of got caught up in the moment. I think the VAR didn't help him out. And after that, they kind of lost the plot and still would have won the game had the goalkeeper not made a pretty massive individual error. So it's one of those things that it's just been, it is all sort of equated to them being about average. I think they're probably a few points better in terms of the way they've played than they are where their results are. But at the same time, certainly not what anybody expected when you had all these national pundits picking Orlando City to win MLS Cup and the Supporters Shield. The latter is obviously gone. We've seen this team last year around this time rally and go on a crazy run that kind of started with blowing out the New York Red Bulls at Red Bull Arena on this exact weekend. So while we would probably love to see that, I imagine those watching this don't. There does seem to be a little bit more work to do with this group, and I think it's a real test for both Oscar Pareja and these players to try and figure it out and get this thing on track.
So that's a little bit of glass half empty. Glass half full would be if you look at the last 5 games, you've got a win over San Jose, a win over Philadelphia, a draw against Chicago. I know that's probably more in the glass half empty category, but a draw against Miami and the loss to Columbus, who's one of the better teams in Major League Soccer. When you look at it, if you're factoring in 2-1-2 in your last 5, you might say, hey, this team's treading water just enough right now, right?
Well, that's when they changed the formation 5 games ago. They switched to a 3-5-2, primarily to get Luis Muriel in his best position. He's there now, their highest paid player, big time DP signing. The box score numbers are not there for him, largely because he's been used out of position. He does not play a position that in the 4-2-3-1 that Orlando City used to play. They tried him as a 9. Didn't quite work. He wasn't in the box enough. They tried him as a 10. It took him too far away from the game. He really needs to be off a target forward. And when they played him off of Duncan McGuire in the 3-5-2 against Philadelphia, he was absolutely dominant. 2 goals and an assist in that one match. But beyond that, he's taking players on. He's in the top 99th percentile in the league in dribbles. He's right there with Messi in that statistic per 90 minutes. He's an outstanding player, but he's a very specialized player. And Orlando City doesn't really have a number 10. So they've gone to a system where they don't really play with one. They're playing with 2 9s, and then Duncan McGuire gets hurt. So now you're treading water there. He may or may not be available for this one. I know he's on the trip, so you might want to look out for Duncan McGuire, at least in a cameo situation on Saturday, though there's no official word as of this recording. But that's a key thing, is for Muriel to have that target forward. If they can get all that personnel ready. They also missed Robin Janssen for the last few games. He came back against Chicago. He got a yellow card. He'll be suspended for this one this weekend, so they'll be missing him there. They're going to lose some players for the Euros, so and Copa America. So it's going to be a kind of touch and go. But I think the foundation is there with the 3-5-2, with Muriel in his best position now to kind of take off a little bit. The schedule lightens up as well over the next couple of months, sort of after this game. Which is a very difficult fixture for Orlando. So I think there is reason to believe that this team is probably still a better than 50% proposition to make the playoffs. Is there a run in them beyond that? On that front, we'll have to see.
Evan, finish with this one as we talk about things on the field. Give me a perspective, without getting too deep into it, of the off the field mentality. Is this team questioning themselves a little bit, or are they okay with? Listen, you're not okay with where you are right now at this point, but do they look in the locker room and say, "We will figure this out as we go forward"?
Yeah, I think so. I think something that has typified Oscar Pareja in his now dozen years managing in this league is the togetherness of his locker rooms. They don't break down. He, as far as I know, having gotten to know him pretty well, has never lost a locker room in his career at any phase. He is a terrific man manager. I think an underrated tactician as well. This 3-5-2 has paid off pretty nicely for him so far. But as a man manager, there are few, if any, better in our league right now. And there is, it sounds cliche when we talk about it. And I know coming from a club employee, you can take it for what it will, but it really is, to me, feels like a family atmosphere with this team. They are very tight. They believe in each other. It's why they were able to weather the storm last season when they were 500 at this point in the year. They had a 0 goal differential on June 1st. They went on to finish second in the entire league. Had they turned it on a couple weeks earlier, they probably would have won the Supporters Shield. The 2 years before that, injuries, long spells of poor form. They still won a U.S. Open Cup. They still made the playoffs both seasons. The experience in the bubble, a lot of that team is still there. That core is kind of trying for one more run. So I'm not worried about any locker room issues or tension off the field like that. I really think it's all just sort of positional fit, trying to find the best way to create chances with a roster that maybe had outlived what it could do in the previous game model, trying to find the best way to make that work, and frankly, to stop conceding cheap goals on the other end. That is something that you never think of with Orlando City under Oscar Pareja. And that has been a major, major problem. They need more from the goalkeeper position, certainly. And they're hopeful to get that as the year progresses.
Evan Weston, the radio voice of Orlando City, doubles for those that follow the NWSL as the voice of Gotham FC as well. Evan, appreciate you coming on, giving us a couple of minutes, and look forward to catching up with you down the road.
Absolutely. Thanks, Doc.